Shout out to you, Jesse. Thanks for the $5. Sorry if Ron has already answered this, but could he elaborate at all on his falling out with Jimmy? Love his work. Obviously, you don't have to answer that if you don't want to, Ron, but we do read out all the super chats. So if you want to
Yeah,
respond,
we could
feel free.
talk about it. Look, if there's a falling out, something I don't. I've said that to everybody who's ever asked me, and that is the honest truth. I quit the show for a long list of reasons. I wanted to move on to other things. I think given the nature of this interview so far, I think it's obvious I have. That's why I quit. On a personal level, I don't have any beef with anybody involved. I don't have any ill will towards Jimmy. I don't have any ill will towards Steph. I don't have any ill will towards anybody who is still there, although admittedly, I'm not sure who all is still there and who all isn't. There's a lot of people who also quit around the same time I did. I was just the only one who was on camera the most, I believe. Yeah, I mean, if there's a falling out or if there's a beef, something I don't, because and when people say things like, well, like what's the quarrel all about? What's that all about? I'm like, well, I can say that there is none, because for like a quarrel to exist, that means two people are quarreling. So if I'm not quarreling with anyone, then a quarrel doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, well, there is no beef.
I don't know, man. Sounds like there's a beef.
No, yeah, right. I mean, it's like I don't have any, so the only time that Jimmy, to my knowledge, said something about me, it was in a positive light on Russell Brand's podcast. He gave me a name check, but in a good way. He mentioned the stuff I do for municipal broadband and I texted him and I was like, hey man, thanks for the shout out on Russell Brand. So I don't know. I mean, if he has a problem with me, that's a weird way to treat someone you have a problem with, giving them a name check on like one of the biggest comedy podcasts in the world. So yeah, I mean, that's all I got for you. I don't have any bad blood with anybody. It was just time for me to move on. And when I say I don't have bad blood, that doesn't mean we agree on everything. We certainly have our disagreements, when it comes to things going on in the world. But I don't have any ill will. I should probably, because I was like, oh yeah, if Jimmy called me, I'd be happy to hear from him. Calling is a two-way street. I could also call Jimmy and just say hello to the guy. I don't know why I don't. I probably should. And maybe I'll do that, Jesse. Maybe I'll do that today. But yeah, if there's some kind of falling out, something I don't.
Oh yeah, Ron's rising above it all. He's giving Jesse and the chat a good lesson in how to build bridges and not burn them. I like that.
Well, it wasn't. I mean, no, I wasn't trying to come down on Jesse. He just asked a question.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
But yeah. All good.
Well, no, I'm glad to hear it. I mean, just on a personal level, it always sucks to see friends that politics gets in the way of just what should be a amicable relationship, regardless of differing perspectives. So, I mean, I'm glad to hear that it wasn't like some, horrible, like you're fired, Ron, fuck you for not agreeing with me on this issue.
No, there was nothing like that. There really wasn't. I mean, we certainly had our disagreements that we would talk about, but I mean, it was not. We talked it out. I decided it was time for me to quit. And the only reason too, that like, I'm always very steadfast in saying I quit is because there was that incident with the producer who was fired. And I've had to make it very, very clear that I am not that person. Like I tweeted when it initially happened. I'm just like, that's not me. I'm not a producer on the show. I'm a writer and contributor for the show. When the show was smaller, I did more producing,
right.
but
also like the Jimmy Dore Show isn't like Zach and I, when we have a disagreement, we'll spend, 30 minutes to an hour, however long it takes, hashing it out. Like we're not afraid to just spend the whole live stream debating each other if we disagree on something. I feel like with Jimmy's show, it's a little bit different. Like he doesn't really want his side piece to be like, pushing back all that much or like arguing with him. It's more just like the person on the side is mostly there to like bolster his points. So I can understand how, if there was some disagreements, it might not have been the best idea to kind of use the show to hash them out, because that's just not really the format he operates under. So, I mean, I think you probably made the wise decision if you were getting to the point where it felt like, every segment was going to turn into a debate if you disagree. read or something.
Well, yeah, I think that's kind of more. I think kind of the thing there. It's like he's not like, and I'm not trying to like speak for him, but yeah, like it's not really looking to be a debate show. Nor are when you're trying to do, especially when you're trying to do like political comedy, like it's not necessarily like all that fun if it just turns into a debate all the time. But that being said, it's like, I mean, you know, we definitely didn't agree on everything ever. And that's sort of, I mean, he supported Tulsi Gabbard. I supported Bernie Sanders. There were other elections, even in California, where we were supporting different people. So it's not like, and he never told me who I had to support or what I could or couldn't say. He would always let me ask people questions, like in an interview. He would always, I mean, like him and I think it was on the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm not trying to give like one entity like all the credit or whatever, but I think we kind of changed Marianne Williamson's perspective on Julian Assange, because I mean, we were talking to her about it on the Jimmy Dore Show. This was a long time ago.
Did she not support Julian Assange?
She does now.
Yeah.
But before, she was a little more, I don't want to say she didn't support him, but I think she was a little more like timid about it. And, we kind of brought up some points. I mean, it wasn't in a hostile way. We just said, you should consider this, this, and this. And I jumped right into that interview, and Jimmy let me. He didn't tell me I couldn't do that or whatever. He was actually encouraging, of the whole thing. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess I think we answered the question.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you clearing that up, or I'm sure Jesse does at least. I kind of figured that was the status of things. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I didn't mean to call you. I didn't mean to call you a side piece. Whatever the correct terminology is.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't take it that way.
What would you call? What was your role? What was the technical term for that? A person.
Well, I mean, it evolved over time. I mean, from 2018 to like 2019, I was a writer. I mean, I've always been a writer. That was how I got. That was basically how it morphed into like a full-time thing, but I was always a writer on the show. And then in like 2018, 2019, I produced some segments and stuff like that, but I had not produced something for the show since like 2019. So basically 2020 until like the end, I was like a writer and a contributor. And then, I mean, we just definitely were going in very different directions, and it was just sort of time for me to go. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like I was there for about 5 years. That show changed my life. I look back on most of my time there fondly. I have a lot of very happy memories from that show. Do we agree on everything, especially as of now? No, we don't. We definitely have our disagreements. Was it time for me to quit the show when I did? Yeah, absolutely. But, I look back on most of it fondly, and I really appreciate all the emails that I've gotten. I mean, I get a lot of really cool emails from people who oh, we miss you and this and that. I also get some pretty freaking psychotic emails too. I mean, I get people. I mean, someone once told me you're a traitor and you broke our heart. Someone told me I broke their heart. Someone told me. I mean, I've gotten some weird stuff, and I kind of just have to sort of just do the old whatever and just kind of realize how bizarre that is. Like, look, I make every analogy is a music analogy in my world, so you'll have to indulge me. One of my favorite bands, who I actually got to see on Thursday night, is a band called The Hold Steady. I'm a big Hold Steady fan, and their keyboardist is a guy named Franz, who just adds so much to the freaking band. And Franz left the band, I want to say it was like 2010, 2011. He has since returned. But Franz left the band for a number of years, and we were all very, very sad, But it never dawned on me as I would like to think, a reasonable human being, that I'm just like, Franz broke my heart and he's a traitor now. Like, I never thought that. Like, I just thought Franz wanted to move on to other things. And in his book, because he's also a writer, Franz is, he talked briefly about when he left the band, and he just said, "Look, man," and he made the analogy of hopping trains, like creative endeavors are kind of like hopping trains. And he goes, when you hop a train and you're riding a train, and all of a sudden you find out that this train is just not going where I'm going. Doesn't mean there's necessarily something wrong with the train. It just means I got to get off this train. This ain't my train anymore. Well, guess what? At some point, you got to jump off the train. And when you jump off a train, you don't know what's going to happen, man. You might like fall and tumble a bunch and skin your knees, and you might even break a limb or something. But at the end of it all, what's going to eventually happen? Well, you're going to stand up, you're going to brush yourself off, and you're going to keep walking, and you're going to be walking in the right direction. That's what happens when you quit any endeavor, whether it's a YouTube show or a movie or whatever. Whenever you leave something, that's what happens. So it's like I jumped off a train, man. It was time. It was time for me to jump off that train. It wasn't going where I was going, so I jumped off. And I probably stumbled a little bit. That probably happened. A lot of people know me from the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm not there anymore. And people are totally welcome to get on board. No pun intended. Train analogy. I'm really riding it a while, aren't I? But people are welcome to get on board with the stuff I got going on now. I just finished a short film. I'm working on a movie. I do a historical interpretation of a dude who died a couple thousand years ago. And I still tour with stand-up. And of course, I still have Get Your News On with Ron, and I'm a once-a-week co-host over at Status Quo now, too. So I got plenty of stuff that people are welcome to follow, should they want to follow me and what I'm doing now. And, I've always been the type of comedian where it's like variety is sort of the spice of life. So I kind of like having a bunch of different things going on.